Welcome to the Deerfield Theater Podcast. In this season, we're talking about Deerfield's production of Shrek the Musical. In case you're tuning in and didn't already know, Deerfield Theater's putting on a production of Shrek the Musical this November of 2025, and performances start Friday, November 14th, and go through Sunday, November 23rd. So while you're listening to this episode, visit the link in the show notes and get your tickets. Without further delay, here's the interview. Welcome back to another episode of the Deerfield Theater Podcast. With us today, a very special guest, star of the show Shrek, in the titular role of Shrek, Matanel Roitman. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, how's it going?
All right, well, it's great to see you here, and boy, you're serious. You've got a microphone and everything with a pop filter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like this is. You've done this before.
I mean, I I'm on Discord with friends, and I figured, and I tried like doing like Twitch streaming in the past, so I figured I'd have like a little setup of my own, but I haven't really got to use it too much, but I'm glad it comes in handy for this.
Absolutely. The video game space is what got me into recording voice stuff in general,
Nice, yeah.
which then just was a simple pivot into podcasting. It's actually, podcasting's a lot easier than voiceover work, for those out there who are interested. But yeah, so, and that's just a reminder, folks, too, you might be listening to this in the podcast feed, but if you subscribe to deerfieldtheater.substack.com or look at our YouTube channel, you'll see Matanel and I, we're just, we're vibing here. We're in person. My microphone's off camera, but it's just off camera, about a hang loose distance away. So you're Shrek. That's so exciting. What made you want to be in Shrek?
Well, I mean, I've enjoyed working with Deerfield Family Theater in the past. I was Gaston 2 years ago in their production of Beauty and the Beast, and I enjoyed that experience so much that, I definitely wanted to work with the company again. And when the audition announcement came out that Shrek was going to be this year's musical, I mean, I for sure going to go out for it. And yeah, here I am. It's been a wonderful experience so far. We were like 3 weeks into the rehearsal process, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So longtime supporters of Deerfield Family Theater, longtime patrons might recognize you from Beauty and the Beast a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Tell us what that experience was like.
Oh, it was so much fun. I always love playing the villain of the show, which is very different from Shrek. Although Shrek, he's not a villain. He's not the main villain of this show, but for a lot of people in the show, he is. He's the big scary monster. So playing the big scary monster as the good guy and exploring his experience through that and his growth from that is a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's such an interesting perspective, right? Because Gaston to Shrek, there's got to be a little bit of overlap, just like a
little
touch,
bit,
right?
a little bit. There's like the fun, like scary, like roars and laughs and kind of like subtle villainy that Shrek plays, but plays it off jokingly and a little more lightheartedly than Gaston with his more serious and more dastardly attitude that he gets toward the end of the show.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm going down all these rabbit holes now, thinking like how Gaston perceives himself versus how he's actually perceived, being the inverse of that, is like Shrek. But it's different, right? Oh, that is so cool. So obviously you must have had fun performing with our theater group that you come back a couple of years later, right?
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just such a loving and inviting community. I mean, everyone gets along from day one. I haven't had a whole lot of time to work with the ensemble for this show, but I mean, from the work I've already seen and from what I've heard from everyone else on the project, like it's just already like we're starting off very strong with it. So it's a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great time, I'm sure, once I start getting more active in the rehearsal process. Yeah,
and look, we're early. We have these sessions early, but it's just really good to hear from the stars of the show. So everybody's wondering, or I mean, I'm wondering, the Shrek the movie, how is it different from Shrek the musical?
Well, first and foremost, they're singing, but I think that difference is very key, because in the animated movie, I rewatched the movie not long ago, and it moves very quickly from point A to point B. And it's kind of what is expected from like a kids movie, like they just chug along. But I think in the musical, especially with the addition of the songs and the dance numbers and everything that like you would love in a musical theater, it adds more to the characters. We see it, we get a bit of a deeper insight into these characters' thoughts and feelings that we don't get in the animated movie. And some characters are a little more fleshed out, like Farquaad. His character gets a lot more fleshed out in the musical versus the movie. In the movie, he's just like the big bad guy or the small bad guy. But you know, in the musical, like his numbers are like fun and upbeat and real. Like you love the villain, like and that's something that you really want in a story. Like you want to like love to hate the villain, and I think his character is one of those where you're like, okay, I'm having fun with this guy. You almost want to side with him in ways, and in the ways that he like plays.
Yeah, yeah, and Mike Myers, has a very particular voice that he's chosen
Yeah.
for Shrek for the movies. So again, like that was an interesting choice that he made.
Yeah.
Are you making a similar choice, or like what choices are you
I
going with
think
as
I
far as
think
the voice?
Yeah, I mean, like the accent, the Scottish accent that Shrek has is an iconic thing for the character. So I'm doing my best in bringing that to life and bringing myself to it. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to do a Mike Myers impersonation,
Hmm.
but I'm taking inspiration obviously from what Mike Myers has done, what Brian Darcy James has done, the original Shrek on Broadway, and kind of like finding like, okay, well, where do I fit into that? How do I bring myself to that character, right? The voice is definitely a very iconic part of Shrek, and there are lines in the show that only work with an accent like that. You can't tell someone that they're going the right way for a smack bottom without doing a little bit of a Scottish sound to it. So yeah.
Absolutely, and if we're all listening in now, can we get a tease for Donkey?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Donkey. Apollo, the actor who's playing Donkey. He's doing a fabulous job, and I think it's something that Eddie Murphy would be proud of to hear come to life. I think it really is. We play along so well that you kind of forget that it's Matt and Apollo on stage. I think looking back at some of the videos of the rehearsals we've done, and you just hear the characters playing. So it's gonna be great.
Yeah, what an iconic duo. And if I mean, what we could always cut this out, but could you have you practiced like calling out like Donkey?
Oh, oh
Like
yeah.
could you give us one of those?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a little bit like, hey, donkey, or
Yeah, that's
you're
what I'm
going the
talking
right way
about.
for a smack bottom. Just yeah. It's
Oh, I
still a work
love
in
it.
progress. It's still a work in progress.
No, no, no. I love it. I love it. I think for our biggest diehards that will listen to this and then go see the show, I think they'll be pleased with hearing it early on and then seeing what it became for the final
Yeah.
final product. So well, that's great. Look, like there's still a lot to figure out as the show comes together towards towards opening night, and we're far away from that right now. So let's learn more about you. Like what got you into the performing arts in the first place?
Well, I've been doing theater since I was young. Started back really in high school was when I started taking it a little seriously, a little more seriously than I had been. I went to college for acting, UIC. I graduated with a BFA, and it was in 2020. So at the height of the pandemic, really at the start of it was when my senior year was wrapping up. But in that time, I've done a lot of community theater out in Buffalo Grove and Des Plaines. I've done some work in the city as well, in Forest Park, and yeah, I've this is just something that really is the heart of who I am. And I love performing. I love telling stories, and it's the one thing that I know I'm confident in my abilities, being a performer, and it's kind of like my therapy. I come to rehearsal, and even if I have like a long day of work in the morning and I'm tired and it's 7 o'clock, I still come to rehearsal, and it's almost like a therapy for me to just be in the rehearsal space and working on a show. My energy just kind of restarts that way. So that's why I always kind of come back to it, because I feel like I need it. Otherwise, I don't know what else I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. Well, you mentioned you were graduating at the height of the pandemic. So tell me a little bit about like what that experience was like while you're studying and you're doing theater and it's a pandemic.
Well, yeah, very like scary time. Graduating like right at the end of my senior year, having my showcase kind of almost canceled. Essentially, we it turned into us having to record ourselves, self-tape ourselves, and send it off to a website that was then sent off to casting directors and casting agencies and stuff. And none of us really heard back from any of them. At least I didn't, and my ensemble members also reported like not really hearing much. So it was really a time where like things were just kind of shut down and things were uncertain. And as time kind of started going on in the pandemic, people resorted to like online theater, like trying to find that as an outlet. But a lot of it was just kind of like hunkering in place and being like, okay, let's just wait it out and hope that we can get back to a physical stage with people in the physical world and get back to what we love. And thankfully, like as time went on and things started opening back up, opportunities started to repop up. And I didn't find as much work as an actor at first, but I was thankfully able to get into the stage production side of things, stage managing shows over at Big Deal Productions in Buffalo Grove, and working with that company for a while now on the production side until things started to reopen back up, and now we're able to do Shrek in person, up until now. But yeah, it was definitely a very like unnerving, kind of scary time in all of our lives as performers and theater artists, for sure.
Yeah, and I also understand that at least at the time that you were still senior, you were like co-directing something, and then it was going to be live, and then so like, what was that experience like having to be a co-director and then
Right.
having to make a major pivot and adapt?
So yeah, that was my directing class in college. We were planning on directing Antigone for the stage, kind of like as a group co-directing assignment. But again, the pandemic hit and we all had to lock up in our rooms and on our computers on Zoom. And instead of learning how to direct a show for the stage, it kind of became, okay, how do we make a web series or like a movie? And so we went from learning how to direct for the stage to learning how to direct for film and how to perform for film, but the film camera is just the webcam. So that pivot was very much like a stark pivot, a very sharp turn that none of us knew what we were really doing or getting ourselves into. But the end product, I'm still happy with the end product even now, because it's like it really showed a lot of us that when the going gets tough, you got to just take what you can and run with it. Is it a perfect end product? Maybe not, but it's still moments in there where I'm like, okay, I'm glad I learned how to do that. I'm glad that turned out. Visually in my mind, it would have been cool if it was on stage, but a translation of it works out on camera too.
And look, as it may not be high art, but like a one camera, virtual thing. Like, look, Mr. Beast is like the largest content creator ever, and
For
he's like
sure.
a YouTuber, right? So that, and now he's doing multi-camera stuff, right? So like that might not be the best example, but you have multimedia empires that are just based off one camera speaking to a camera, and it's not like they make you think it's off the cuff like reality TV, but really like it's a highly produced, directed production when these online content creators are doing the one camera thing. That I have to imagine there might even be some lessons there for that.
100%. Oh yeah. I mean, my school, my college experience has always been on stage live theater. So having that shift key to on camera work was quick and rushed, but I'm still glad I got to experience that side of things, even just for a brief moment.
Yeah. So then like for that like directing experience, that having to make something online, the working on the production side of things, like how does all of that inform you as an actor?
I mean, yeah. So I always here. Give me a minute to collect my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
I always love working with directors and artists who can see both sides of a production, right? Some of the best directors I've worked with kind of consider themselves actor first in their approach to the work, because you kind of need all sides. It helps to have all sides in your mind when you're working on a show, when you especially like if it's a script that you're not familiar with, or even if it is a script you're familiar with, you can have different point of views, right? So getting to work both on stage and behind the stage, or in the production, on the production side of things, really opens it up, because not only am I thinking as the character now, but I'm thinking, okay, well, how am I as the actor I want to make sure my thoughts are clear on this. Yeah, no, I mean, like getting to work on the production side of things versus the acting side of things, you get those different viewpoints that help inform one or the other. You know, as a director, I always think, if I was performing this role, what are the points that I want to hit and want to make sure I hit, so that way when I'm talking to my actors, then I get to have that, I know the vocabulary to speak to them in, and the other way around, right? If I'm an actor, then I can talk, I can think, okay, directorially and kind of visually, like how is this playing out? You know, how much of the space am I using? How
Yeah.
little of the space am I using? You get all different sides of it in that way.
Yeah, and then sort of, relatedly in a way, if it's around the topic of extrapolation, when you're on stage and you're participating there and you're doing all the things involved with with acting and a production and everything. How about then when you're not rehearsing for a show or performing on stage? Like, what are like the not I used to call it real world takeaways, but it's not like
Hmm.
theater isn't the real world, right? Like, so it's like
Right, right.
I still haven't come up with a good nomenclature, but like the non-theater world, like, how does what you do as an actor help you in that context?
I mean, it's definitely like a great like social tool. You know, you get to play as different characters on stage, and you get to explore different viewpoints on stage. That when I'm talking with friends or when I'm just living in the world around me, you know, I get to have that open mind and that open view of how I interact with people on the daily. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Also, acting is a great tool for things like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a big D&D nerd, and so that's kind of helped me in like my storytelling and my playing with friends and creating those small spaces as little getaways from the real world, so to speak, you know.
I have to imagine that's a pretty virtuous cycle to come back, right? Like doing those, like playing D&D and then bringing those experiences into the theater world as well.
Oh, 100, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. You got to just kind of go for it, whether it's on stage or at a table rolling dice. Like if you're not like with your whole heart doing something, then it's almost you almost question like, is it worth doing at the end of the day? So you just kind of have to go for it, no matter how silly it might feel in the moment, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So even now, like taking a step back from Shrek, and from that side, like let's just say you're putting on your audience hat member, not even as a performer. What have been some of your favorite shows, be they musicals or just other sort of live performance or live arts that you've got to experience?
Oh, I mean, I love going to the Chicago Shakespeare Theater out in Navy Pier. I'm a huge Shakespeare head, so anytime there's a production of Shakespeare being put on at that location, I always want to just like go and see it. I am always kind of drawn to that world and that form of theater out there. I do need to go to Chicago a lot more and explore more places out there because there's so much theater in the city that I just don't have time to see it all, and I feel and I feel like I'm missing out a lot. But whenever I get the chance to, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I go toward. That's what I'm attracted to mostly.
Yeah, and then just a fun question we like to ask people sometimes, or at least when I remember to, is whether you think it is acceptable to listen to a musical soundtrack before actually seeing the musical or like the movie of the
Either.
musical. What do you think?
I mean, I don't see the issue there. Yeah, I mean, if it's something that you wanna get a taste for, like the musical soundtrack, I think is only half of the production, right? Is half of the performance, right? The songs in a musical, unless it is like a Les Mis or a Phantom, or a Hamilton, where it's the entire show is the soundtrack. I mean, maybe pick a couple songs in that list, but if you've never seen that show before, definitely like check it out and find a song that like vibes with you and you can connect to. I feel like that's a great way to like explore a new show, or introduce a friend to a new experience. Is just like, here's song A, B, and C. These are just the epitome of what this show is about, and if you like it, go see it. If it's not your jam, still go see it, because there might be another aspect of that show that will attract you, whether it's the dance or the spectacle of it, you know.
Yeah. So wrapping up here, recognizing that this is going to come together in the coming months between where people where we're having this conversation and then people actually listen and go see the show. It's time to get butts in seats. So if people are unconvinced, although like it's Shrek, like I mean, come on. But if people are unconvinced or they're not sure, oh, I love the movies, but I don't know about the musical. Like this is your chance to get butts in seats. Why should they come see Shrek?
I mean, it's kind of become a modern classic, right? It's become a timeless tale of an unexpected hero. You know, if you love just like the classic fairy tale stories, this is one of those where, you know, the unexpected hero gets what he dreams of and what he hopes for. And if you're a fan of big, spectacular singing and dance, amazing spectacle, if you're a fan of any fairy tales, whether it's Pinocchio, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, whatever, like all that is kind of encompassed into here. The comedy of the show is very fast and witty and fun. You know, if you've seen the movie, most, if not all, the jokes from that movie are represented and played in this show. So, I mean, it's not one to miss, for sure.
Love it. All right. Well, everybody go to the show notes or deerfieldtheater.com to get your tickets. So, from our very own Shrek, thanks again so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And that's our show. Please share this podcast to help support the work of Deerfield Theater. An even better way to support us is to go see Shrek the Musical. To purchase tickets, visit deerfieldtheater.com or click the link in the show notes. Thank you to the production staff and cast for Shrek the Musical. Please follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your preferred listening app to never miss an episode. Until next time, thanks to everyone who continues to support the arts. We'll see you at the theater.